Hello and welcome to the Brave Hearts Bold Minds podcast, Growing Fine Young Men. I'm Lee Hatcher. Thanks for joining me on this journey into how to help the boys of today grow into the fine young men of tomorrow. Each week I'll be interviewing an educator from the Scots College in Sydney to uncover very practical tools with which parents of school-age boys can engage, encourage and challenge their sons for wisdom and compassion. So, let's ring the bell and meet our guest for this week's podcast. With me today is Mike Pitman, the former director of Glengarry at the Scots College. Glengarry is a 6-month residential experience for all Year 9 students at Scots. Mike is now a Christian Studies teacher and McIntyre housemaster at the Scots College. Mike says boys need to have mentors so they know who they are. Mike, welcome.
G'day Lee, nice to catch up with you today.
Great to meet you. Thanks very much. This will be a great conversation. Now, when I think of the term mentor, I think it's interesting. As I've reflected on this, I don't think I've ever had a mentor. I've mentored lots of people in their life, in their career, even spiritually, but I've never had a mentor. Is that the case for you?
I think it must be something to do with our vintage, Lee. Not to be too rank about it, but yeah, I would agree. I think there were certain expectations, certainly in my childhood, that life would just take its course and people would just toe the line, so to speak. But no, I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you.
Now, when I think of the term mentor, I think of someone beyond a boy's immediate family. But you seem to indicate that there's a very strong place for mentoring within the family.
Yeah, look, there's probably a lot that could be said about that. In terms of mentoring, I think a modern take on that is definitely relates to someone external to the family.
Yeah.
But, I would say that the family is a critical part of that process as well.
Explain your thinking there.
Well, I think trust is a massive issue. And so my particular perspective would be that if a child learns trust and learns that adults and people with specific place in society or particular opportunity or wisdom, if they're accessible, then their wisdom's accessible and their help's accessible. And the idea of someone older having more experience, more wisdom, more direction in life may be able to impart some of that. So I think that starts in the home. And then I think it overflows.
It's a challenge doing it in the family, for that's the place where everybody's really known.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That is a challenge, though.
Oh, it is. It's a massive challenge. I mean, I'm a father of 4, 3 sons and a daughter.
Okay.
And I can say that I was far from a perfect father.
Really?
Yeah, very much so. And
Shocking.
my children were very much formative for me as well as I for them.
Yes.
But I think it was a shared thing.
Do you ever think, I've got 4 kids too, do you ever think, could I just do that again?
I don't think I'd be brave enough to be honest.
Oh, really? Yeah. Now, your thinking has been shaped, speaking of your kids, shaped by the recognition that each boy, each child in a family will be different. See, with my experience, when my son was born, I thought, okay, that's the template.
Yeah.
That's the model. Then my daughter came along. I thought, oh, she's so different. Second daughter came along, ditto. Third, different from all of them.
Yeah, that's right.
And same with you.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've got 3 sons and a daughter. And as you describe it, I think that's pretty accurate. My first son came along. I'm not sure that I was even ready for that. But then son number 2, then son number 3, and then my daughter, all very different people. And yet that notion of familiarity, family likeness in a range of ways was true as well.
Yeah.
So,
The penny dropped for you at a parent-teacher interview.
Yeah, I had a teacher say to me, "I'm so surprised that your children are so different." I think I nearly fell off the chair thinking that, well, of course they're different.
Well, duh.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by one particular phrase that you use, and that's this. A boy is more complex than his DNA. What do you mean by that? What's your big idea there?
Obviously, our DNA shapes all sorts of things. I mean, if you were able to see me through this podcast and look at my mother, you'd see the similarities in terms of stature and so forth.
Without the beard.
Without the beard. Mum was much prettier than me.
Mike's got a beard.
But the idea that DNA provides a lot of information for us and creates some high level of context. But our social situation, our families, our work, our life experience in school and so forth is massively influential.
Yes.
And I believe that with all my heart.
So it's the circumstances in which we live.
Yeah, absolutely. Just putting it very simply, I was son of a migrant, a British migrant, came in 1948.
Yep.
Now, the circumstances that surrounded that were very formative.
I bet.
Very
like
formative.
what?
You know, you grow up in a location where there are many other families that are migrant families.
Yes.
The amount of money you have, the idea of using clothes that your brothers have used, the idea of mum learning to make things, and the weekly menu is fairly very simple,
Yes.
limited funds. So you grow up with a certain perspective on where entitlement.
On so much.
On so
about
much.
life, yes.
Yeah. What can I have? What can I create? What can I do? What am I due? What do I have to make myself? So there's a lot of influence there.
Yeah. If mentoring is going to take part and take place as much in the family as you say, what do you say about time? I think this is probably one of our biggest issues today. Where's the space for a parent to devote themselves to this critical job?
Yeah, look, can I use an example?
And for that matter, the kid as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I give an example? I mean, my father was in welfare for many, many years, and there was a place in his career where he was offered a directorship within the community services there. It was, from a migrant's perspective, some money, some prestige.
Yep.
There was a lot of things that would have been very, very valuable for Dad.
And enticing.
Very enticing. And I learnt later on that he said to the people that were offering this role, my children need me more than you do. And looking back on that, that was very, very powerful thing to do. For me personally, that was formative. That told me very big. In terms of mentors, that taught me a massive lesson.
It's a costly thing for a dad to do that.
A very costly thing.
Yeah.
And so he's made sure that he was available. Even though he was a very busy man, he was available more than he would have been had he taken that role.
Available for what, Mike? How'd that work out in practice, practical terms?
Basically being available to talk to.
Yeah.
Being available to share experience. I mean, males and females, and we're all a bit different in various ways. But
really?
Well, yeah, apparently.
I haven't noticed that much.
But for boys, having worked at Glengarry for 3 years and seen this in action in close up, being alongside and with
Yes.
is really critical. So if you're on a camp, sitting with, cooking with, putting up a tent with, going for a walk with.
This is boys.
Yes, boys. Conversation naturally takes place. And that's critical. So for my father, just in his way, playing a bit of cricket, doing a range of things, going to the beach, playing a board game, whatever it was, he saw that he needed to be available. And that was important. So from my perspective, mentoring in the family is okay. It's a good thing. It's
What
important.
a gift to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This might be putting too much acid on you, but how have you done that with your boys? Has that been something you've been able to do?
Yeah.
Because time is tight.
Look, yes, probably that could be a very long conversation.
Yes, I bet. For all of us.
In short, I did my study later when my children were little, and so getting time, creating time, being available for them was in fact a challenge.
Yes.
But yeah, it was good going to the beach, playing cricket, going for a ride on the bikes, having conversation. I think it gives you a right to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And so you've got a relationship in place, and then when the tough conversation, the hurtful conversation, the sad conversation, when you have to have that, you're accessible.
The lines are open.
The lines are open.
Yeah.
You've got an opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the shaping of a young man, you say, will come down to a sense of belief or faith or a worldview. You actually go to the Bible for this.
Right.
The book of Proverbs.
Yes.
Proverbs 22.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So I think the scripture says, depending on the version you read, train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he'll not depart from it. This particular scripture sounds like you need to get them to toe the party line.
Yes. Which is the easiest thing to do, actually.
Oh, absolutely.
Just do this.
Yeah, here's the 6 rules, do them.
Yeah.
But it's actually way more nuanced than that. It actually is referring to training a child according to their bent or bias. The pressure is actually on the parent.
Yes.
To know and understand their child so that they can work with them. And I think that's very, very challenging. It sounds right, it resonates well, but it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It requires time.
Again, I was just going to say, challenge to find the space.
Yeah.
We also have to acknowledge, though, that boys are living in a real, very dynamic and constantly changing world, almost by the week.
Yes.
So that's infinitely beyond the family unit.
Yeah.
Their lives are also being shaped in a social context.
Yes. Yeah, and how tough that is.
Yeah.
We live in a world of images. We live in a world where what you look like, what you sound like, political correctness they're all massive issues.
So many pressures.
So many pressures.
To
And
not
so-
even say anything about social media.
That's right. So conversations, private conversations, are almost banished from public view. So what is really going on within a child's life, a young person's life, I'm thinking particularly a 13 to 18-year-old, may well not even appear on the surface.
Yeah.
And therein lies a massive challenge.
Because going on social media, if you just go to that, just very briefly, because you can have hours of discussion about this, it's all got to look good.
Yes.
Look perfect.
That's right.
And it's hardly ever going to be the case.
That's right.
I'm not being kind of unusually down about it, but
No.
that's a reality.
It is.
Life is different from what it
is.
appears there.
It is. Yeah, look, there's a challenge. If you want to be able to have the conversations about the deeper things, you have to have trust. If there's no trust, you're never going to hear that deep private conversation. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it requires time and it requires vulnerability. And as a dad, I found that hard. When's the right place to drop my guard? That was challenging.
To be honest about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of this is about truth.
It is absolutely about truth. And the things that my sons, for instance, would like to have heard or did hear were things about my weakness as much as about my strength. In fact, probably more related to my weakness than my strength.
That didn't undermine you in their eyes?
No, not at all. I mean, the potential is there for that. But, my view is that truth, authenticity, integrity, they can navigate vulnerability.
Yes.
They can work through.
A passage in, again, going back to the Bible, in Matthew 6 means a lot to you.
Yes.
And the need for a spiritual or a philosophical sense in a boy.
Yeah. I think the scripture you're referring to talks about if the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And the light being knowledge, truth, the things of reality. And I think it is my belief that, with young people, particularly 14, 15, 16-year-olds, their sense of justice is at a peak.
Yes.
They wanting authenticity, they wanting to demonstrate all those good things. And one of the things that they listen to and will respond to very well is authenticity. And vulnerability is a part of that. And so with your children, with your sons and daughters, to be vulnerable in a wise sense, not in a destructive sense, but in a wise sense, not to dump on them to feel better, but to actually inform their practice, to inform their life so that they're safe, so that they can actually see. They don't have to make the same blunders maybe I made, have the same amount of pain or the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I put this kind of simple but pretty potent question to you? Who are these men? Where are these men? What would you say to them about stepping up to this?
My view is this. Someone said it to me once. I don't recall who said it to me, but they said this in regard to being a father. There is no better man in the universe, past, present or future, to father your children than you.
It's true.
And I found that staggering, and yet it was a decent challenge. And so I took that on board. And the idea being that you do have that DNA connection, but you have also the family connection, the love, the compassion, all the things that make you want to see your child succeed, to see your child blossom, to see your child happy, to see your child purposefully engaged in a society which cries out for authenticity.
Yeah. My final point or question is from the wisdom of Mike Pitman, and that is, men ought always to pray and not give up. That's a phrase that stuck with you through your life.
Yeah, I guess to throw the challenge out to the men around about us, so often our success relates to our performance.
Yes.
It relates to, have I achieved this? Have I done that? Have I got this in order? Have I got that in order? Have I got it right? Have I made it? Our children are not necessarily interested in that aspect of our lives. And so if we are focused on that and that entirely, we can be very, very bitterly disappointed. And so when that time hits, when we do hit the wall, when we are distressed, the thing that the Bible, the scriptural reference talk about is don't give up, pray. And of course, then you can go a bit further and say, well, don't wait till you get to that point to pray a bit earlier. So, so the idea of God has an interest, God is interested in your life, the life of your children, the life in society, people around about us.
Mike Pitman, what wisdom kind of born out of the searing challenges, the ups and downs of life in your own life. Thank you so much indeed for joining us for a great conversation.
Lee, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. If you'd like more information about growing your boy into a fine young man, you can subscribe to receive useful articles and news from the Scots College. It's free and offered to every parent who wants the very best for their boy in their journey to manhood. In your internet search engine, enter the Scots College e-newsletter to subscribe. I'm Lee Hatcher. Hope you'll join me again next week on Brave Hearts, Bold Minds, the Growing Fine Young Men podcast. Mike, here's the buzzer. Ring us out.
Time's out.